All right, another tier list. I figured I've done Transformers video games, I've done Transformers television shows. It's time to do the live action movies. Now, this one's probably going to get me in hot water in a lot of ways. So, we're going to start off with some goodwill. I think. Anyway, by putting the first live action movie in its rightful place at S tier. The '07 Transformers movie really stands out in terms of its quality of storytelling and everything compared to a lot of the others. But also, it just has such iconic moments. The score from Steve Jablonsky, with Arrival to Earth and Autobots especially. Optimus's first transformation, when all five Autobots met in the alleyway. Um, the first on-screen transformation that we see, and the sound effects. Everything was really great. The tone of the movie felt fantastic, and it was just a lot of fun. The final battle was quite excellent. And even if my boy Jazz got done dirty, he went down swinging at the most powerful Decepticon of all, Megatron. And while I'm not necessarily a fan of Megatron's first live action design, as a kid it looked menacing and awesome, and it was my introduction to the franchise, really. This and the tie in video game for it. And also, of the live action movies, while you may not like the design of the first Megatron, he's definitely the most lethal and the most powerful that we see him for the rest of the movies, which is great. This version of Optimus as well has a lot of great moments. He feels like Optimus Prime, and yeah, I mean, the '07 movie's iconic, right? I mean, I'm not alone in thinking that. That's what kind of rebirthed the franchise, and they brought back Peter Cullen to be Optimus Prime, which was a legendary choice. And Michael Bay's stunning visual effects, especially for 2007, this movie looks fantastic. It's a beautiful movie. And the special effects and sound effects are out of this world, and it holds up today. The franchise regained a ton of popularity because of this movie, and it's why a lot of people who grew up in the 2000s, like myself, that were like late 90s, early 2000s kids. I was born in 99. The live action movie came out at the perfect time. Got me into Transformers and discovered things that ended up being my favorite part of the series, like the War for Cybertron video game and stuff like that, like all because of these movies. And so '07 S tier. Why don't we just bookend that with what I consider to be the worst live action movie, and I'm sure I'm not alone, The Last Knight. I probably, I wanted this to be good, and before I criticize it, let me sing its praises in one way. Some of the action sequences are amazing. Okay, Optimus beheading those like Infernicus guys was really cool. They just like basically made the Dinobots a total joke. They kind of had Optimus off screen for the whole movie, and most of the time he was there, he was Nemesis or whatever, which magically got cured by Bumblebee, who magically got his voice back. And all that's fine and dandy. Really, that wouldn't have been too egregious. But the whole inclusion of all the all the historical stuff of trying to like cram Transformers into every major event, like even with World War II stuff and all that, it's a cool concept, but it really didn't work out, and it didn't have enough runtime for that. Like, it just, for a movie that feels like it drags on, it also rushes a lot of its concepts because it's trying to cram so many things together. This is the live action movie that kind of took the wind out from the sails as the last Michael Bay movie and kind of, hurt the franchise for a bit. And, I'm gonna have some controversial opinions on here. Like, I'm gonna like some of these more than you'd expect and dislike some others more than you'd expect, probably. But this one I think is right where it needs to be. It is the worst live action Transformers movie, in my opinion. Okay. Which brings me to its predecessor, Age of Extinction. Here's one that's gonna shock you all. Boom. Age of Extinction is A tier for me. I love this movie. I felt like, look, okay, let's just get this out of the way. The Romeo and Juliet scene is cringe. It really is cringe, but it's like 20 seconds of screen time, okay? We can look past that if we can look past a lot of the other stuff that is in these movies, for sure. I know it's bad. I know that scene's bad. It really is. But The night design, while not super practical, this was his debut and it's cool. The Dinobot charge scene is iconic and among, if not my favorite action sequence of any of the films. It's absolutely incredible. Lockdown was a unique villain, and the idea of the Autobots being hunted by humans and Lockdown was terrifying and also quite well done. I actually thought it was very interesting. Optimus having to cope with the fact that, the humans have turned against him, but not all humans are bad. Cade makes him realize that. It felt like Optimus really did have an arc. And all the people out there who say Optimus is like a psycho for shooting Harold Attinger, like that's the moment that you knew Bay vs. Optimus was lost. I just don't get that, because he literally had Cade held, at point. Like, was Optimus just supposed to let a more innocent human and his friend just go? I mean, I don't understand that. He clearly demonstrated earlier in the movie he's not a psycho when he stormed the building that was making the, weird pixely transformers, including Galvatron, which, again, these people were using, this would be blasphemy, right, to Optimus. They were literally using dead Autobot parts to, as science experiments, like they were technology and not sentient beings. Obviously, this crawled under Optimus's skin, but what did he do when he broke in? He just kind of scolded them. He didn't go in there and destroy any humans for their ignorance. That proves his restraint. He's not a madman like y'all think. But anyway, all that aside, it felt like he actually had a character arc in this movie. And I felt like the main Autobot cast was pretty cool too. While it is annoying how some of them bicker like children, the designs for Drift and for Crosshairs, especially Crosshairs, is really cool and welcome additions. And I felt like Hound was a really great character as well. His fight scene was pretty awesome. And yeah, this movie has some great action sequences, and I felt like a better plot than people give it credit for. And plus the Dinobot factor. I know they're not in it for much, but boy, when they are, it's sweet. So yeah, Age of Extinction, A tier. Bumblebee. This one's going to be controversial too, but everybody gets rose-colored glasses about that first 4 minutes, which, while I admit is cool. Hey, look, B's good. I really like this movie. I think it's worthy of a lot of the praise that it gets. But I am putting it kind of in the middle of the pack, as in it's not bad and it is really good, but it doesn't have kind of the same pull that some of the other live action movies have on me, probably due to the less emphasis on action and all that. But that's okay. It was a great movie. When it comes to plot in terms of human character development stuff, it's probably the strongest in the series. But as an overall package, I think it belongs in B tier for me personally. It's one of the ones I'm less likely to rewatch all the time. And again, you got to remember that the Cybertron scene is not the whole movie. Okay, there are some slower moments in the movie, like with all of these. But Bumblebee is a lot of fun and it's charming, it's sweet, and on any given day I might put this a little higher. But for now, it's going in the yellow B tier, which, I mean, come on. It's perfect, right? Bumblebee tier. Revenge of the Fallen is going in C tier. It's better than The Last Knight, that's for sure. But of the original trilogy, definitely the weakest. And in large part, that's probably because a writer's strike was going on at the time. I believe I read that they kind of had to piece together the script. The movie ended up being kind of a mess. Look, the Force battle's iconic. Optimus getting Jetfire's parts, iconic. We definitely agree on that. But the whole entire drawn-out college part, everything that happened at college was awful. Probably some of my least favorite moments in the movie. This movie's not as far ahead of The Last Knight as you'd think because of that college arc. It's just terrible. The Decepticon being that girl was awful. I mean, that was just something to watch, let me tell you. Thankfully, this movie has the Force battle and the Egypt battle, because if it didn't have either one of those, or even if it didn't have just one of them, this would probably be right with The Last Knight. But because it does, Revenge of the Fallen, while definitely the weakest of the original three, is going to go where it is, right there. C tier. Okay? I'm sorry. For the final movie in the original Bay trilogy, Dark of the Moon, boom, A tier with Age of Extinction for me. This movie would easily be S tier if, again, it didn't have a huge chunk of the movie that I just didn't like. Once they actually started investigating the moon landing stuff, I actually felt like Sam's part was fine and was cool. I actually liked that part a lot. But the part kind of right after the intro where he's just sort of like walking around the house and doing job applications and all of that, it lasts longer than you'd think when you rewatch this. It really does. And it holds the movie back. The last hour, the Battle of Chicago, is absolutely amazing. And Sentinel Prime is probably the best villain out of the whole live-action series, especially with Leonard Nimoy's voice. Absolutely amazing. And the ending is phenomenal, okay? When Optimus charges down, takes out all the Decepticons and Shockwave, then goes after Sentinel, then takes out Megatron with the one arm. It's amazing. Gets revenge for Ironhide. Ironhide's death was heartbreaking, too, right there with Jazz's in the first movie. Dark of the Moon is great. It definitely deserves its place in A tier. And it's darn close to being higher. It's darn close to being S tier for me. Optimus's slight redesign with like the ribs on the chest, but still keeping the first movie aesthetic was really great. Looks really good. I remember collecting the heck out of this toy line as a kid, and I just can't say enough good stuff about Dark of the Moon. The plot was interesting. It was good. It also felt the most like post-apocalyptic and depressing at times. Like watching the humans literally get turned to skeletons by the Decepticon guns. I think people need to pay attention to that because it definitely justifies how Optimus is later in the movie. He's trying to fight for freedom. The Decepticons are heinous in this movie, especially Sentinel Prime, who betrayed his own Autobots and, betrayed Optimus's trust. And that arc was really awesome, and I felt like a lot of fun. And so Dark of the Moon is extremely high on this list for me. And that brings us to Rise of the Beasts, which has been a controversial one for a lot of people. A lot of people love it. A lot of people think it was mid or uninteresting. And a lot of people don't like it at all as a follow-up to Bumblebee. So where am I going to put it? The newest Transformers movie. Well, seeing as it sort of reinvigorated my already there love for the franchise and got me heavy back into collecting and everything like that, I got to put it in S tier with the original. That's right. There we go. The first Transformers live action and the most recent one are my favorites. I rewatched this thing 3 times in theaters because it's just so exciting. And because it's a bit shorter than some of the others, its pacing, while it does feel off at times or maybe a bit rushed, it's also an adrenaline rush. Scourge was a pretty great villain and the Terracons designs were cool. Mirage with Pete Davidson was hilarious. I felt like Bumblebee was well done in this movie. Optimus definitely had a full-fledged character arc, even if they didn't explain it the best at the beginning. When it comes full circle and Optimus realizes we should be fighting the darkness together, it's definitely a rewarding moment. And Time to Show You the Power of a Prime is one of my favorite, sort of Optimus moments in these movies. Absolutely incredible. And then again, the Rhinox Cheetor Maximize scene. While I wish we would have got more Rhinox and Cheetor, that scene alone was amazing. And seeing the Beast Wars universe finally make its way into live action was really rewarding and really cool. And I felt like the Maximals designs were really cool. The way they sort of modernized it to make it look believable for live action with the more mechanical elements mixed with the organic was really cool looking. This movie was a blast. A lot of fun. The designs are pretty strong, and overall, I think that the human cast as well was well done. Like, this human cast was actually involved, and however you feel about the exosuit, actually giving Noah a role in the final battle was cool, and I thought warranted and deserving of his character. So, yeah, Rise of the Beast, Rise of the Peak. I loved it. So that's my list. I hope you all enjoyed. And if you want to have more Transformers content, especially Transformers gaming content, subscribe to the channel. I have a playlist of over 200 Transformers videos, as well as another 600 other gaming videos on my channel from a variety of games. So be sure to check those out. I also read the new Transformers Skybound comics with voices every time a new issue drops. So if you're interested in that, or playing War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron with me, then subscribing is a good idea. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, this is Autobot Dawson Gaming, rolling out.